So people are used to the original direction of the country, which was more of a police state, more of a top-down situation where we make the rich richer and we get poorer as they steal constitutional rights and steal plain common sense from the people. Every 5 to 10 years, they are changing the curriculum, and the children are not getting as much information as someone that was born in the 80s or the early 90s. We're talking about 2020. We have to start to question what we see being played out in the world. CNN, they're not giving you, what William Barr is saying in full totality. You have to go to his interviews and sit down and actually listen to what he's bringing forth. Most black people, for lack of better terms, because most of us don't really know our nationality, are looking at this as if Trump is trying to be racist or Trump is trying to put them back in chains, not understanding that the people that they've been following are the ones that have actually been slowly turning up the degrees on the pot. Right? So let's see what William Barr says about some of this stuff. All right.
Agent, you take that, you apply it, you make a decision. I mean, what if you got all that information and you decided otherwise? Wouldn't that be peculiar?
Yes.
And so you stand up for the rule of law. One of the areas I also want to get into briefly is Russia collusion. And so we had this investigation going on, and you had another independent U.S. attorney who served in Republican and Democrat administrations by the name of Durham out of Connecticut. And he's conducting the investigation. I think it would be helpful for Sylvia, my mother-in-law, and for the whole nation to understand when they say, why aren't we indicting somebody? Why aren't we indicting them today? Do you have the power to indict somebody today or in some kind of clock, or how does that work?
Well, part of the rule of law, as far as I'm concerned, and one thing I want to get back to is not using the criminal justice system as a political tool. I think it has been in the past. I think the whole Russiagate thing was an instance of that.
So he's basically explaining the things that Trump was discussing, which I'm going to get to that, where he talked about it like 2 days ago or yesterday. Trump was talking about the same exact thing.
It's used as a weapon. And what I want to do is...
So these people, Hillary paid for the dossier. Obama forced the FBI and the CIA to investigate Trump of campaign officials that are helping him get elected. That is 1,000% wrong to do.
Is make it clear that we will indict people only when we are satisfied that the standards of the department have been met, which means that we believe a crime has been committed by this person and we have proof beyond a reasonable doubt to prove it.
To convict them.
To convict them. And we have to go to a grand jury, and the grand jury has to agree to get the indictment. And proof beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard. And I think all political sides have gotten into the habit in this country of just sort of saying that their political opponents have done something terrible. They think it's terrible. It's enough for me to conclude he's terrible. Why isn't he in prison?
Let me ask you this. So people, you have a grand jury. What's their job?
Their job is to make the decision, to return a bill of indictment.
You have the U.S. attorney. What's his job?
To present the evidence to the grand jury.
And so they basically will decide if somebody should or should not be indicted. And then your more or less informed about it and have the final say.
Right.
So you're not the first tier of this. So when people say to you,
So they're investigating. They've seen all the information that Obama, Strzok, Comey, Brennan, McCabe, Hillary, they've seen all of the information. Now, he's talking about the indictments that are supposed to come for those that created this 3-4 year hoax. I mean, why isn't Hillary coming out and saying that this stuff is false? Trump did when it first started happening. When in 2017, Trump said that they was investigating him. They was spying on his campaign. He said exactly who was doing it. Why, when Fox is coming out, Obama, and all these other people are not saying that they didn't do these things? You have to ask yourself these questions.
when is so-and-so going to be indicted? You don't really have a clue until that is really teed up, do you?
That's right. I mean, as you said, John Durham, 35-year veteran of the department, worked for both Republican and Democratic attorneys general on special projects because people have a great deal of confidence in his ability.
And one of the things I know is we don't really understand how the government is supposed to work. We just know surface level. Let me just vote and put who I like in. We don't know how the justice system works. We don't know the relationship between the DOJ and the police and the FBI. Who's above who's doing what, how does investigations work, who is the seeing eye on these investigations. These are the things that we have to start to look into in order for us to really understand and comprehend what is happening in the world. Why are there explosions? Why is there a virus? Why is governors, not the president, governors shutting down their states if this virus isn't as bad as they say it is? Are these governors holding these states in what they call it hostage? Are they holding it hostage for money? These are the type of things you have to start asking once you start to understand that the Democratic Party is part of the Nazis.
And he's meticulous, and he is about gathering all the evidence. Now, people lose track of, I think people have to realize that in this process, the witnesses have lawyers. Sometimes they won't talk to you. Sometimes
Slows down.
They slow it down. Sometimes they will take the Fifth Amendment unless you give them immunity and so forth. Also, there was a sprawling number of issues to be looked at here, and there were a lot of different conspiracy theories. And part of our responsibility is to look at all of these things so we can assure people that these various theories have been looked at, and so this takes some time.
You think the public has a reason to be angry about, we'll call it the whole Russia collusion stuff, what took place now that we have more and more information coming out on the public record? Forget about probable cause. Public record. We now have testimony that was given by senior officials in the Obama administration to the Schiff committee that's come out, where not a single one of them believed there was Russia collusion. Mm-hmm. And all these other untoward things with the FISA court. Now we know about Comey conducting activity without telling the Attorney General of the United States. This was a really horrible thing, wasn't it?
Yes, to me, it is sort of the doomsday scenario of abuse of government power, which is the party in power uses the police and intelligence services to tilt the field against their political opponents.
So right there, they're confirming the deep state. They're confirming it. Who's telling the police to kill black people? Who's arresting political adversaries? Who's starting the wars? Right? They went after MS-13. These are the people that the deep state was using. See, we do not really understand what's going on with this country. Most of us do not pay attention to our how this place is conducting itself. We complain about how it's conducting itself, but we don't really understand how it's conducting itself. And that is one of the detrimental things to the United States health. This is facts. Let's look at this.
United States. And what we've been in here discussing with the president is part of that effort, which is a Project Vulcan, or Task Force Vulcan, which is targeting the higher level players in the MS-13 operations in the United States. MS-13 is somewhat unique in this sense. They have the street savagery that you would see in a gang. It is not driven by commercial interests the way, for example, the mafia traditionally was. It's about honor of being the most savage, bloodthirsty person you can be and building up a reputation as a killer. So this in some ways is a death cult. And then they use the terror that they cause by their savagery to extort. And they've gotten increasingly into human trafficking and now narcotics trafficking.
So we have to understand who is calling the shots for these people, right? You have to understand that now. Are we there yet to understand who these people are? Nah. So let's look at this.
Conservative.
Adverse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. Favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. A person who is adverse to change and holding traditional values. So I went over the definition of law, right? And I think some people might have missed that one, but I'll go over it again. A binding custom or practice. So that's what this is. That's what this is. Conservatives. I think black people are more conservative than liberal, right? You know, liberals claim to be Christian, but then they don't uphold the Christian ideals. So the opposite of this is socialist. You know, these are people that want control. They want to the desire to control your life. A political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned and regulated by the community as a whole, right? So this is but in this leads to communism. Over here, a transitional social state between the overthrow of capitalism and the realization of communism. So this is the beginning stages. Oh, we all need to take part in running our country, and then we all get piece of the pie. But this is just a step into moving into communism. And that's what the Nazis were doing. That's what the communist China is doing, communism, where it's mob rule. This leads to democratic motivated tactics, which is mob rule, right? So that's what you have conservative, then socialist, and mob rule, and then republic. And we get confused to these words because we don't understand what they mean, and then we end up doing more damage to ourselves than we wanted to, because we don't understand. And that is all by design. Let's get it again, because most people most people don't understand where a lot of this comes from. You know, go down to their philosophy programs, future philosophy, you know, you get into it and you read what these people wanted, you learn. Rockefeller family, you see. But these people have been at this for 100 years. We think that this is just some new people coming up doing something crazy. Nah. So them revealing who these people are and their connections to each other, right, leads me to this. What Trump's motivation has always been: to get rid of those people. Those people do not care about you and I. They don't even care about people of their own hue, right? Let's look at what this guy says.
Trump is that President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people.
So he's talking about, I gave notice to Dershowitz, Clinton. Everybody Epstein was connected to. The only person that helped was Donald Trump.
That I wanted to talk to.
I don't understand how people get in their mind that somebody that is telling on somebody is part of that thing. I don't get it.
He is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009.
So Trump has been trying to expose these people for a long time. It's just that we don't understand the level of depravity these people are in. Let's hear Trump and Hannity real quick.
Doesn't do. I'd like to number one, before any voting takes place, see you debate Joe Biden. You've invited him. And I'd also like to have resolved what happened in 2016 before the American people vote in 2020. We haven't gotten there yet. We're waiting for the...
And that's one of the problems, man. It's a huge, huge issue that now some of the Democrats are saying, let's move on. Who cares? That happened. You know, it doesn't matter. No. See, it does matter, because you destroyed our communities, you destroyed our schools, there's no jobs. We can't even create our own jobs without regulations where you're digging in our pockets, and we're paying more for the regulations and paperwork than we are paying for our own jobs and our own family. We're giving you more money than we are giving ourselves. And that is not right. And America was never founded off of that. Never. So we have to clear all these things up. The people that started this foolishness with the media. People think you just supporting Trump. No.
Any Durham action that might happen, your thoughts on both?
Well, I hope it goes quickly, but this is the greatest political crime, the worst political crime, I think, in the history of our country. And I hope that they do it properly, because this had to do with Obama and Biden, as well as Brennan and Comey and Clapper. And you go down to Lisa Page, and her lover, Peter.
So now he's naming names. He's naming names.
Strzok and McCabe. But you look at all of these people, and they're all implicated. Now we're going to find out. Let me tell you, the Democrats play a much dirtier game than the Republicans. And I say that in a very negative way. It's a disgrace. They play a much dirtier game. They'll impeach you over a phone call that was perfect. Nothing like that's ever happened before. They impeached me over a phone call that was
Yeah, so they come and they impeach Trump over this phone call, which we all can read. We can all read it. Then they say, oh, the phone call is manipulated. But then they asked the people that were in the office and asked if it was manipulated. They all said no. So let's think about this. Let's think about this. If it's all a ruse, if they all are lying, they're all tricking us, it's too late. It's too late. You don't have a gun. You don't have comrades, as you know, the Democrats would say. You don't have friends and brothers that have arms, and y'all have a place where you have store food, right? The Europeans has always been waiting for this because they understood that their shit can't last forever. They understood this. You know how I know they understood this? Is because when Jane Elliott asked them who would trade places with a black person, not one person raised their hand in that auditorium, if y'all recall that. So they understand that they were never supposed to be in rulership as in the way that they were, and there is going to be a time that it comes to an end. So they understood it. That's why they prepared. That's why they always talked about the end of the world. That's why they always talked about end of the world preparedness and getting food and guns and bunkers and stuff like that, because they're always in the back of their mind knew that the world was going to end for them. And I'm not talking about them dying, but I'm talking about them having rulership.
absolutely perfect. You couldn't have made a better phone call.
So you have to narrow it down to who is doing this stuff. Who is doing it? And the way you find out is you look at the money. Who's working together, what organizations they're in, whose names are always popping up. It's always Democratic Party. Now, I'm not saying that there is no Republicans helping these people. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is you have to look at the totality of the information and see that there really is a conspiracy of people that are working together to destroy the world for their benefit. Easy. It's easy. It's easy. And I feel if Trump was part of it, he wouldn't expose it. Period.
There was nothing done wrong with that phone call. And they play a much dirtier game, a much tougher game than the Republicans. The Republicans, fortunately, much better policy, but they ought to get tougher. The Republicans have to get tougher. And this whole thing with this mail-in ballot, that's a rigged election waiting to happen. It's rigged, and everyone knows it, because you can't send out 60 million mail-in ballots.
All right, so he's going into something else, but this is what we're talking about, the rule of law. In 2016, 17, 18, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes were talking about, and the Pelosi's talking about, and Biden talking about no one's above the law. Why are they not saying that now that they're getting caught? Why are they not saying it now? I don't know if they are diddling, little people. I don't have no idea. I don't know if they really doing. I haven't seen no videos. I don't want to see any videos. I have no idea. But that's good reason enough to stop somebody from stopping you. For me, it's good reason enough. But because we don't know words, we don't know the laws of the land, we don't know who we are, we don't know what's the purpose of us being on this planet, we don't understand how real these books are that are written for millennia upon this earth, we are confused. We're confused. I showed you General Education Board. I showed you laws. I showed you conservatism. I showed you reality. I showed you the 7 Hermetic Principles. I showed you Masonry and Hegelian dialectic. I showed you there is duality. You have to find what is good and what is evil, how to determine what is good and what is evil. Once you're able to do that, you're able to look at these things with clear eyes. You can go to CNN and all they talk about is race. Like, I get it. I get it. I used to be there where I hated all white people. When I was in the Israelite church, I hated all white people. All white people are doing this. But when you start to learn how migration works with people and how things was happening in the 13th, 14th, and in the 12th century, you learn that there's more to this than just white and black. You learn that. So I just want y'all to understand, there's something bigger happening. There's something bigger happening than just Trump being racist. I think let me see something. I wanted to go over Trump's inauguration speech. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But he makes it clear, that the country has been going the wrong direction, and most of us have not, because of our lack of understanding, have not understood that the direction of the country has been wrong. So I just want y'all to be patient. Go watch Fox News, watch CNN, watch, YouTube videos, Google something. Matter of fact, don't Google it, DuckDuckGo it, and try to get to the bottom of what's happening. And that will clear you up for the next path that you should take. My support for America is for the right of assembly, because I believe our people are great people. We have an abundance of wisdom that we can bestow on the earth once we get our minds in the right direction and in alignment with the universe. Once again, we can be as great as we want to be, and that is only if we can stop those that want to stop us. So with that, Theory is Black. Like my videos, subscribe to my channel, tell a friend, because we about to turn this shit up. Real shit. Peace.